Designers, Angel here. Hope you guys are doing well and you're safe during this quarantine period. Today I'm going to talk to you about, you guessed it, God is a designer. Look at all this merch. Look at me plugging all this merch. I'll tell you about the story, how it happened, what we're doing, and where it's going. The TLDR version of this story is, I was at church thinking, I was reminded of Genesis 1:1, and bam, God is a designer. In the year of our Lord, 2008, young whippersnapper, Angel Acevedo, that's me, so listening to a teaching at church, I think it was a Sunday, and I was thinking, man, how cool is it that pastors and people in ministry just get to do things that I believe are the closest things to the divine, to God. I had recently started getting into graphic design, Kruger effect in full effect. Thought it was amazing, and it was actually terrible. So I thought, what about me? What about people like me that are doing design work, doing flyers and business cards? You know, are we doing anything really divine? Just to suffer. Are we doing anything really important or anything really that's close to the heart of God? Then I started thinking, where in the Bible it talks about creation? In retrospect, it's pretty obvious. Genesis 1:1, according to the Holy Bible. In the beginning, God created. And I was reminded of that verse. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And then in that chapter, it goes on to explain all the things that God created. So I had a sudden realization, this mind-blowing epiphany, which is pretty simple. God is a designer. God created first. That was literally the first thing that he did in this existence, this dimension, this universe. The first thing that God did was create. So my skill set is inherently divine. I have divine DNA, because as designers, we're actually using a skill parallel to something that God did in the beginning, which is pretty incredible. So as I picked up my mind, shambled in pieces, just from putting it back together from just a mind-blowing realization, I think, I want to say a few months later, I wanted to put it on shirts and make something fresh. Of course, chosen Helvetica, Left Justified, tightly current, and I used a website at the time called Redbubble, which is still around, which they offer print-on-demand services for creative people. Redbubble sold, but the quality wasn't that great, but I wanted to do something I had more control over. So I looked for a local print shop. I was working at a radio station at that time, found a print shop that I was able to print these shirts and sell them out of the trunk of my car, so to speak. This was in 2009, if I'm not mistaken. It was my first time dealing with silkscreen. It was actually really cool, visiting the guy's house. He had a garage that had this sort of handheld silkscreen machine, and I started learning about silkscreening and how that worked, which was a world of its own. That kind of sparked an interest in creating apparel in the future. So I had this batch of shirts. At the time in Miami, we had this neighborhood that was sadly getting gentrified. A bunch of hipsters started moving in, and artists called Wynwood. At that time, Wynwood wasn't that safe, but they did have Art Walk, I think once a month. And at Art Walk, they had this marketplace where they would have artists and artisans with crafts and goods sell their stuff. So I teamed up with a friend of mine, Lily, shout out to Lily, and we had this booth where I sold my shirts and I sold posters and things like that. It was actually really, really cool. I think I had sold most of my shirts at that point. I know I had a few left over, and there was always certain interest from designers, especially designers in the faith. Periodically, I would do different batches and they would sell out, and it was actually really cool. I did iPhone wallpapers, I would put them online, and I made it freely available. Fast forward, 2015. My then fiance, wife now, we created this apparel project called Arcadia 1981. I thought I would bring back the God is a Designer shirt, made a new batch, sold really well. Then in 2018, I made a 10-year anniversary version of the shirt, which is this one right here. 10 years. Actually, on the inside, this is super soft, which now it's not very much in style, but on the inside of the shirt, I actually printed my blog, which was the whole story of how the God is a Designer brand sort of happened. See it a little bit there. Throughout the lifespan of the phrase mark, it has gotten plagiarized quite a few times. I've had to send takedown requests to other companies that use God as a Designer in a very similar way. Throughout the 10 plus years, it wasn't so much that I minded people using God as a Designer as a whole. What bothered me was how similar it was, the typography that they would use. So there was usually a sans serif, left justified, stacked in sort of 3 lines. I always thought, I was like, why can't you just make your own stuff? There's millions of different ways that you can make it. But a lot of these brands just kind of, I guess when you put God as a Designer on Google, the first thing that you see is my shirts and my hats. In 2018, we took a trip to Japan. An incredible, incredible experience. That's definitely one of those countries that I would recommend every creative, every designer visit. When we came back, my wife and I decided to release a limited edition run of Arcadia 1981 merch with God as a Designer apparel as well. And we did some hoodies, we did some snapbacks, We did some t-shirts, and that sold out pretty quickly. It had kanji characters, God as a designer in Japanese, and just a combination of both. And that's probably one of my favorite mini collections that we've ever done. At that time, I had just found the Future and Chris Do. So I went ahead and put a little care package for him in a box, and I put God as a designer stuff, hat and whatever. I realized that he really loves wearing snapback hats. So I mailed it to him, not really expecting much. Lo and behold, he got it and he posted it on his Insta story of how cool the items were or whatnot. He ended up wearing the hat pretty often on some of his videos, and we finally connected. He really liked the idea of God as a designer, and we've been in talks ever since to partner together to launch this God is a Designer brand. So we're in the process legally to register the mark, and it's been a process. Those things take a long time. But now I've been working on the new launch collection, which I'm really excited about. I'm really looking forward to sharing what it looks like, to showing the process of building an apparel brand from the ground up. So that's it. That's a year now, 2020, working on the God as a Designer Alpha Launch collection. There's still a lot of steps to be made. I'm currently finalizing the artwork and making some tech packs to then get estimated or get quoted from various vendors. So there you go. That's the story. From a personal standpoint, my personal belief is that this God is a Designer message resonates with a lot of people, not just in the Christian faith, but from all faiths and all walks of life. And I think that's pretty incredible. Fact is that we were created. I firmly believe in intelligent design. I believe that things were created on purpose with a purpose. So God is a designer, inspired by creation. I want to take this time to say a special thank you to everyone that has written me, to everyone that has supported this project since 2008. I have friends and family that have supported this. And of course, I want to send a special thank you to the Mr. Miyagi, to my Karate Kid, Mr. Chris Do. Thank you, sir, for believing in this. Thank you for encouraging me, for mentoring me, and for your friendship. This is going to be incredible. Anyway, love you guys. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. I was going to say smash that like. You know what? Gently tap that like button. Next following videos are going to be about the God is a Designer process, and I'm going to show some behind the scenes of how things are made, where we're at, and where we're going. Anyway, love you guys. Have a good week. I will see you on the next video. Peace. The TLDR version of the story is, I was sitting at church, minding my own business. I gotta start over.